I mean, I'd like to just leave everything as it is because I'm happy with the way everything is. I mean, obviously, I would have liked to have known to buy shares in Apple in 1990 or something like that. But yeah, if I could give myself any advice, probably just be a little bit more patient. I feel like there's like a anxious intensity to a lot of stuff that I've done in the past that, you know, if I had just slowed down and been a bit more patient, might have been a little bit easy for me. But I also think, hey man, like things wouldn't have happened if I did that. So
yeah.
Relentless energy.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Bountifull Podcast, where we explore what it means to live a bountiful life. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Matt Lambert, a renowned chef of international acclaim who has recently returned to his native New Zealand, to join us for an insightful conversation with this culinary mastermind. Our journey with Matt is a tale of culinary excellence and international success. Born and raised in New Zealand, Matt's culinary journey draws on his Kiwi upbringing and his passion for incredible produce coupled with a modern, innovative approach to cooking techniques. Matt has seen great success in the USA, leading teams across many renowned establishments. He achieved international acclaim with his own restaurant, The Musket Room, where he earned and maintained a Michelin star from 2013 to 2020. Matt's culinary expertise extends beyond the kitchen as he has consulted on projects for major brands like Nestle, Pepsi, and Freshly. He's even designed the food offering for Virgin Voyage's ship, the Scarlet Ladies restaurant, The Test Kitchen. As an advocate for farm-to-table cuisine, Matt's insights into garden-to-plate philosophy offer a unique perspective on sustainable dining practices. Today we'll delve into his culinary journey, discuss the nuances of achieving and maintaining a Michelin star, and explore the importance of reconnecting with nature through food. Matt, welcome to the Bountifull Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're like, we're done here, let's go.
Yeah. That was a lot.
It was a lot. I mean, this is your story.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Don't really think about many of those things very often, especially on days like today when you spend part of it flipping burgers, you know. But it's pretty cool, I guess.
Pretty cool, I guess. So can you share a little bit about your upbringing in New Zealand and how it influenced your culinary journey?
Jeez. Pretty, like broadly speaking, my mother and my grandmother cooked a lot and liked to get me quite involved. So, you know, I mean, I always think it's just everyone's sort of New Zealand vibe of growing up, but it might not be. You know, you're making cookies on the bench and cakes and what have you. And, you know, obviously if you're a kid, you like eating cookies. So, you know, doing all these sort of baking things and all the rest of it were always really cool for me. And, you know, I don't know, my parents would often ask me what you want to be when you grow up. And obviously doing this cooking thing, you know, was quite exciting and fun for me. So I thought I could maybe be a chef. Yeah, and that's kind of, I guess that's how it really began. You know, some wayward pizza Fridays with spaghetti bases and things like that, you know. But yeah, just basically having fun in the kitchen. And I like being able to make something and enjoy it when you're done. You know, whether it be, you know, woodwork at high school or whatever, or, you know, metalwork or anything. I just like being able to see what it is you've done, because I find it hard doing tasks where it's like,
Yeah.
what was that? Did that happen? Like, you know. So yeah.
Love that. I had my mum's Italian. That kind of explains everything. Really good at cooking. Family's all, you know, very fire Italians. Mm. And she came home one day and she was like, "Oh, honey, what have you tried to do?" And I was like, "Mum, I tried to make scalloped potatoes." She's like, "Yeah, that's not how you make them." I'd basically chop them up and then put them in the microwave with this much water and a whole carton of paprika and put it on for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
She's like, no cheese, no baking, no tinfoil.
Italians are also like militant with tradition, eh? So like if you mess with any tradition, you've committed a cardinal sin.
Yeah.
Sounds like that was a cardinal sin.
I've not had many food disasters in my life, but that definitely was one of them.
Yeah.
I guess we're on the Bountifull Podcast and you've had quite the journey, you know, obviously upbringing in New Zealand. Sounds like you knew what you kind of wanted to do with chefing, moving to the States, coming back, being back here. Maybe not necessarily by choice because of, you know, COVID.
Oh, no, I certainly chose to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I chose to come back. I thought I had this plan in my mind where I would achieve 2 Michelin stars and then, you know, that would be good enough for me. And then I'll just come home and just do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that didn't happen. Turns out it's really hard to get 2 stars. man, I feel like we were really close a couple times too. So that does burn me daily that I didn't achieve something that I wanted to achieve. But no, I thought it was a good move because my boys at the time were like maybe 9 and 4 or something like that. I got 2 boys, and it's just a less stressful place, so it's a good place to bring them up. So the timing was great, and obviously you got to think pretty hard about moving your whole family. So yeah, wasn't forced to. I did choose to.
So can you tell me what it means to you to live a bountiful life?
I don't know. I think part of being alive is figuring that out. Yeah, I'm not really sure I have the exact answers for that at all, to be honest with you, but I'm enjoying figuring it out.
What have you figured out so far?
Well, I definitely am a lot more relaxed in New Zealand, which has been nice because I was 15 years in the States, and I think it was 14 years in Manhattan. And I don't know, you don't really realize until you're gone how different life can be. I don't know if that makes sense, but you're like at a heightened state of intensity all of the time, and it's pretty relentless. And I remember even I'd come down here to work on the project in Queenstown, and just be like, I'll be standing on the runway basically looking at the Remarkables thinking, wow, look at this, it looks crazy. And it's just such a different reality to my basement kitchen and, you know what I mean? Like Manhattan. But I'd always feel like while I was gone, I got to get back there. It's like this really weird codependency that you develop with the city, and you just never want to leave, blah, blah, blah. And it takes a little bit when you do leave, but once you're kind of a bit more used to normal life, I would call it, it's quite great, like my kids are big into sports. I'm able to be there for those sports. I was pretty just deeply immersed in the restaurant. Yeah. Like I didn't do anything else, and, I specifically had no time for anything else because nothing else was as important to me, which sounds harsh, but it's just the way that it had to be at the time. Yeah. And now I get to, watch my son play basketball, and my other son also play basketball and soccer and things like this and baseball, and I really enjoy that. So I feel like I have some kind of work-life balance that I definitely never had, nor I was of the opinion that it was bullshit. Like, like you've got to pick one. Yep. You know what I mean? So now I have a bit of balance, and I'm kind of a little bit, I guess that's nice.
Yeah. I remember I used to spend quite a bit of time in New York, and I lived in San Francisco. That in itself was pretty intense. But then I'd go to New York, and people would be like, out until 5 a.m. and then they'd be like, let's meet for coffee at 7 a.m. And then they just hit you with all of like the commercials or something. And I was like, I can't do this. This is too much. Like getting out of bed, like being in a meeting at 7 o'clock after doing business drinks or whatever until like late in the evening.
Yeah. So intense. Yeah, getting locked in is pretty fun. You get locked into bars and stay on for a little while. Yeah. Yeah, this city feels amazing though, because it just feels like anything is possible kind of scenario, and just everyday life is a little bit more interesting, I would say. Like, you don't know who you're going to bump into or meet, or it's pretty cool like that. Whereas here is really chill. It's not, it's unlikely that something crazy is going to happen on any given day, unless you really plan it.
You can't really get there's not a lot of stuff open on a Monday either.
Yeah. Dude, when I first came back, we'll be going to my wife Barbara is American also. We came back. Oh, okay, we've got to run to the shop to get this. And it was like 5:30 on a Friday and everything was closed. And I was like, nah, what? Yeah. How is this possible? And just, the easing back into New Zealand was, everything is just minorly inconvenient. So you can't really let it bother you, but it is certainly inconvenient. Yeah.
What did they say? With a nice way of saying that. We just don't have the scale that America
does. Yeah. Well, it's very accurate though. The population is pretty important, and we just don't have it.
Yeah, no. Do you have a world view? Like, how do you see the world?
How do I see the world? It's a pretty sweet place to be. Given any other option, there is none. So, I don't know. I think everything's pretty cool. Obviously, there's disastrous things happening around the world at all times. I'm sure living in the past would have been easier when you don't know about it all at the same time. Yeah. And sometimes that can get you down, but like ultimately everything's pretty good, eh?
Yeah.
Especially, I don't know, especially, I guess that's the thing I think the most about being in New Zealand is like, what a great place to be when the world is being crazy, you know, because it's very, very even keeled, you know.
What advice would you give your 25-year-old self? And where were you when you were 25?
I was just leaving for America. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to just leave everything as it is because I'm happy with the way everything is. I mean, obviously, I would have liked to have known to buy shares in Apple in 1990 or something like that. But yeah, if I could give myself any advice, probably just be a little bit more patient. I feel like there's like a anxious intensity to a lot of stuff that I've done in the past that, you know, if I had just slowed down and been a bit more patient, might have been a little bit easy for me. But I also think, hey, man, like things wouldn't have happened if I did that. So
yeah.
Relentless
energy.
Yeah.
Love it. So outside of the growing up with, you know, the family in the kitchen and the baking, is there anything else that inspired you to pursue a career in the culinary arts?
Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest, because I think I just always wanted to be a chef, and then I just got after doing that. Yeah. So, yeah, I think not really. I think I just like really enjoyed baking and cooking and just knew that's what I was going to do. It's a tough one to answer because, like, you know, I enforce people to use recipes frequently, like, but in my position, I like people to use recipes because these are the steps to get the desired product achieved properly. And if you deviate from it, I can't help you.
You're like, oh, that's a
you know what I mean? Like
3-star review there.
Yeah, but also like I don't know what you've done, so we can't fix this. Right. Whereas if you just do it the way, we can do it. Yeah. But if I'm cooking for myself and I'm like, you know, in most situations, I won't use a recipe at all. I'll just use ideas.
Yeah.
Intuitive cooking, yeah. It's also why I like cooking over fire and stuff like that, because there's a lot more sort of spirit and mystery in that than there is sort of science and articulation, you know.
And then tell me about ending up in the US. Was that a conscious decision or was there an opportunity?
I was my wife's souvenir.
Oh.
So actually, I met my wife working at the Grove, and we married pretty quickly and moved to the States sort of within a year of that. Yeah. So it all happened pretty fast, but yeah.
She's like, I'm leaving, you can come.
She was very homesick, and couldn't stick around. So yeah, I went with her and then, you know, came back with 2 kids and we're still married. So
okay, so your experience working in top-tier restaurants in New York, let's talk a little bit about that and some of the stuff that you learned. And then we'll obviously get into the musket room.
Yep.
Yeah. So top-tier restaurants.
So I worked at a restaurant in New York called Public, which was on Elizabeth Street also. And when I moved to America, my whole goal was to work within the Michelin system because all the chefs that I loved and aspired to be like, which was mostly at the time like Marco Pierre White, Gordon Ramsay, and, you know, Heston and Ferran, stuff like that. They were 3 Michelin star chefs, you know. So I was like, if I'm going to do this and this is a serious thing, you want a barometer of where you're at, you know what I mean? And the Michelin Guide gives you that. So, yeah, I started working at Public because there was a Kiwi connection. A dude named Blue was friends with Michael Meredith. Anyway, it was about 6 or 8 months into working there and it didn't have a star. And I was like, look, I started doing trails at, you know, or trials or stages or whatever you want at Michelin star restaurants. And then we got a star. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm doing pretty well in this kitchen. There's no point starting at the beginning in another one, you know? So, yeah, I ran that for a while. Then they opened Double Crown. So I was there for a while, back to Public. And then they turned Double Crown into Saxon and Parole. And then I was at Saxon and Parole. But all the time I was at these places, I would try and stage at places. I staged with Josh Emmett at Gordon Ramsay at the London, per se. Trying to think. There was a restaurant called Taylor that I'd go and stage at quite often, and he was the original pastry chef from WD-50.
Stage?
Like work for free to learn on your days off.
Got it.
Yeah, it's a team no days off. And that dude's a fucking legend. That's Sam Mason. He is Oddfellow ice cream now. But yeah, it was just basically trying to work around these, because like, you know, you'd spend one day in someone else's kitchen like Sam's and you see some of the stuff he's doing and it was just like, what the fuck? Like he was making beads out of bone marrow and oil from the surface tension of a liquid going into a fat medium. And I was just like, this is what I want out of New York, you know? So it was pretty cool. And And then, seeing per se was like, man, I didn't, I worked in some pretty shitty kitchens in New Zealand, like in terms of how you treat a kitchen as a professional workplace. Like, it's not like you're given a nice kitchen, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like an afterthought. Like, the most important thing is the seat.
Yep.
But, like, actually, people have to do a lot of work in that kitchen, So it's mostly cafes for, like, brunch and shit before I left. So seeing this kitchen was just like, what the fuck? Like, he had a chocolate room that with a regulated he still does. Like, I'd say he has them at all of his restaurants. Thomas Keller is like, top tier. So anyway, he had all the stuff and the kitchen was crazy. Even the layout of the kitchen and the pass and the way that the food came to the pass and then it was plated there. Yeah, it was crazy. And I was just seeing that, it's in the Time Warner building and, Central Park. Like, just the whole thing was just like, fuck, this is it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was cool. And being able to see how people do things and then, put your own spin on it in a basement kitchen downtown's cool too, Yeah. And also eating out. If you're lucky enough to live in a city like New York, you can go out once a month, like whatever. Everyone is doing crazy shit. You just go sit at a bar somewhere and you get to see what they're doing, and it's inspiring, but it's also like uplifting, you know what I mean? Because you have to meet that. Yep. And if you want to be good, you better hope to be better than that. And in a lot of cases, you don't have this $3 million kitchen or whatever, you know what I mean? But the product you want to put out is really good. So yeah, all of that was pretty cool, and you get to see a lot of stuff at the same time.
Is there a quality that you think that the top chefs that you staged under shared?
That's a real good question. It's pretty hard. It's pretty layered. You know what I mean? Like, all of these people do have similar things where they have incredible teams. They've created awesome environments. And most of them are driven, dedicated, and they have a vision. And the whole restaurant is spearheaded at this vision, to achieve the goal of whatever it is. But it's usually, because it's deeply personal for, name the chef, Ferran Adrian, Thomas Keller, whoever, like it always lands, you know what I mean? And they attract great staff because, you want to help them achieve this thing, and they've achieved it at this point, and they're maintaining it, But, I'm not there. I thought my restaurant was pretty good, and I've seen people coming out of my kitchen who had been cooking for, 3 years, 4 years, and I could confidently say, and it's one of the things I'm proud of, that anyone coming out of there after a year would probably be a much better chef than I would have been after like 9, 10 years. It's a massive group of things, but I think that sort of vision and dedication is part of the biggest part of it.
How do you, obviously I've watched Hell's Kitchen back in the day, but how do you corral a team or, everyone to spearhead that vision? Is it like team huddles, or is it sitting down and...
Yeah, you got to build the culture. I had been working with quite a few of the people that, when I did it myself, I've been working with a lot of the people, and they kind of knew what I wanted to achieve and what I was capable of, and, I had their respect. So it's a good starting point. But yeah, like team meetings are pretty important. Bad services can be really important because no one's going home at the end of the service. We've got to talk about this. You know what I mean?
Can you now talk about the Musket Room? How did it come about?
Yeah.
How did you leave where you were at, have the courage to,
The whole thought process while I was, my whole career, I wanted to own my own restaurant. I did my apprenticeship at Michael's restaurant in Henderson. And when I was doing my apprenticeship, I was kind of thinking one day I want to own this restaurant. You know what I mean? It was kind of like how I approached a lot of places I worked at, because I want to have my own restaurant. And then I'm living in New York, so I figure what better place to own a restaurant and do this than here? Yeah. And I have this wonderful opportunity where maybe I can do that. So I must have worked on that for 3 years, probably, before I went anywhere with it. Did a couple of tastings around, floated the idea to multiple investors. Not everyone that keen, you know what I mean? A couple of people, we'll put this much. Actually, one dude was going to give us $300K or something like that. And I gave my resignation. And then the next day he was like, oh, no, I can't. I'm doing a renovation at home. I was like, oh, sounds good for the renovation, dude. But I just worked on it for 3 years. So by the time it was go time, it was pretty well conceived. I'd been writing menus, leaving myself breadcrumbs for like 3 years. So when it was come time to open, probably the week before, I didn't even know what the menu would be. I just went and read through it, and I was like, well, that sounds good. And then made those things happen. Just a lot of planning.
And so what did the vision end up being for the Musket Room?
I just wanted to have a place that executed food at a very high level, but literally anyone could feel comfortable at. So, whether you're wearing a suit or a Motorhead T-shirt, it kind of didn't matter. Was part of it, because there were some restaurants that made you wear jackets at that time, and it really bothered me.
Or like pants.
Yeah, or pants is okay. Please, wear your pants. But
I mean like shorts.
I knew what you meant. I was just joking. But I just feel like if you're going out to dinner, you just want to enjoy the dinner. It shouldn't matter how you're dressed or what's going on at all. So that was part of it. And then I wanted to showcase New Zealand because I felt it gave me basically like a PR talking point that other people don't have. There's not many Kiwis in New York, you know what I mean? And there's little known about New Zealand in that climate. It's just, I can't tell you, for 6 years I just got jokes about Lord of the Rings, you know what I mean? And so it was that. And I just really wanted to do the best I could. The goal was to have a Michelin star within 3 years, and just make it awesome, basically. Yeah.
I remember that. It was Flight of the Conchords, Lord of the Rings, and sheep. They used to drive me mad.
Yeah, the sheep
I was
one.
like, we're so much more. And they're like, well, with what? And I'm like, don't know. Don't know what to say.
Yeah. It feels like a Reese Derby punchline, eh? You're like, we've got not much. I think his one was about Rainbow's End.
You have your restaurant. It's going well, I presume. How does the Michelin system work, and how do you get your rating, and how do you even get on the radar?
I actually don't know. The whole time we had the star, I was really keen to figure out who's the judges, because it might help you, you know what I mean? But their slogan is they're famously anonymous, and fuck, I could never figure it out. I don't know who they were. So that's one of the things I really do like and respect about the guide, is we had no idea who they were. So it could have been anyone on any day. How did we get on their radar? I did tweet on it on the end of friends and family, dream goal number 1, restaurant open, dream goal number 2 at Michelin star, you know what I mean? So fuck, maybe they read that. I still don't know. I think it helps that I have a French last name. In New Zealand it's Lambert, but in France I think it's Lambert. Yeah, they asked for some information from our PR company. The PR company was real adamant not to get my hopes up because it was too soon and it can't happen. Yeah. And that just really pissed me off. I was like, you're supposed to fucking tell me that this is really good, you know what I mean? And be part of this, And then, luckily we got it.
How did you maintain it? Because you had it for 7 years?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, so my whole goal after getting it, I probably enjoyed it for
5 minutes.
Maybe a week. It was some pretty big drinking sessions, party times. But I didn't really enjoy it after that, to be honest with you, because I wanted to maintain it, but I was not really happy or satisfied with having a star, because I've done that. Do you know what I mean? I had to do something better. So there was a good 2 or 3 years there we were pushing fucking hard to get 2 stars. And there was 1 year they called and said, hey, we just want to tell you you've maintained your star. And they typically don't call when you maintain your star. And I was just going, oh, why'd you call? Yeah. And I was quite shitty on the phone, so I was quite scared the next year. But the level that it took to get there, so you have to sort of hold the line and try to improve. That's what we did. I was quite militant with keeping everything really good, checking everything all of the time, tasting everything all of the time. I think it's one of the biggest things that people miss in restaurants is you actually have to taste everything. Crazy concept.
I do that.
It's you'll be amazed at how many chefs just don't taste anything.
They'll be like, you'll be right. And you're like, oh, wow, that's too much salt, or, what.
Well, just man, there's so many, You're missing all of the nuances if you're not tasting anything, and you're not giving it anything creative or personal.
Not at all on your level. I did a culinary competition at school, and I just had the most beautiful dish, but I had a mind blank on the chili, and I double chilied. Ooh. And so I got a bronze or something. And the judge came up to me, she was like, I really wanted to give you a gold, but you like, there was way too much chili. And I was like, yeah, I forgot that I'd already put chili in. It's like, damn it. That would have been so cool.
One time I was making bread at a restaurant in Wellington, and I think I weighed the salt out as sugar, and it just wasn't proofing. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with this? And then when I cooked it, I was like, oh, wow. Yeah,
really faulty.
That's 3 cups of salt. Yeah.
Let's not eat that. Take that one off the menu, off the table.
You know, I just got a bollocking.
Yeah. With the restaurant, is there like a pro and con, or is there like a reward or benefit, or not benefit, that's the wrong word, of owning a restaurant and having a restaurant, and then like what's the, challenge or the joy in the challenge? Maybe that's one.
I mean, for me, it was mostly just like a pride thing. So, I was just very proud of, putting it together and seeing it through, and then maintaining this place that people could come where I felt like they could experience me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds kind of cheesy and weird, but yeah, that was the go. And then, you got to walk that line of like, is that just ego then or whatever? Probably, but I really enjoyed it. Like, so yeah, that's that. I mean, and then the cons are you're fucking stressed out about everything all of the time from, like, it's a long list of everything associated with a restaurant. And then, once the reputation is on the line with the Michelin guide, and just in general, it becomes even more stressful, and, simple things that shouldn't bother you. Yeah, whereas, when you're removed from that, life's a little bit more chill,
Yep. Nice. Are there any misconceptions, like common misconceptions about fine dining or achieving a Michelin star that you...
Well, I think some people really think it's easy, and it fucking bothers me. Like, I'm tired of listening. Like, I'll read something about somebody that worked somewhere that had a star, so that they're basically a Michelin star chef. It's like, can you please get the fuck out of here? It's impossible to tell if you're going to get a star or not. Like, I actually have friends still that don't have stars that I would have thought when this area received the guide would have 2 stars. You know what I mean? And then you just have people make these throwaway comments like, I worked here and here, so I'm this. It's like, I don't think so.
So what is a Michelin star chef to you?
Well, somebody that got, like, you earn that star. You know what I mean? Like, you can work in a Michelin star restaurant. That's cool. That gives you good experience. But you got to earn your star on your name. You know what I mean? Like, for you. Yep. Not like, I don't know, if you work, I don't know. It's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, it's a weird view, and I think it's just a personal one. But yeah, because I mean, a lot of I'm having an argument with myself right now. But like, honestly, I think you got to earn it, eh? You got to earn it yourself.
Yep. And you did, so you can be proud of that.
Yeah.
Changing gears a little bit, how do you approach sourcing ingredients for your dishes, and what role does sustainability play in your culinary philosophy? If
the ingredient's good, I'll use it. And it turns out that a lot of the times the good ones have a sustainable story. Yeah. A good example. Yeah. A good example is like the Wapiti venison. So I guess it's an elk. It's a hybrid elk venison. But, just free range roaming around Fiordland. It's fucking incredible. And it's a conservation effort to cull them, Trying to think down your way. What are we using? It's sustainable, right? Black Quail Estates truffles, pretty fucking incredible, But yeah, that's not a good sustainable example, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, fuck, okay. Tim from South Seas spearfishing.
Right.
He's been doing just the green bone for a while, so we're using that. Now he's got a license to fish the same area spearfished, and he can get anything. So I was getting like 17 kilo kingfish from him. And it's like, it comes with a, hey man, do you want this one photo of, he's just pulled it out of the ocean and it's with me the next day, Fucking incredible fish. Not sure why he can't fish anywhere in New Zealand with a spear gun if people can drag stuff out of the ocean with nets. Typically, good ingredients come with a good story just by default.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I should get you onto the vertical farm in Ashburton.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yep. You can get year-round basil for, that tastes just as good. Are there any innovative culinary techniques or approaches that you've experimented with recently or learned that you want to explore? No sort of trending things. I do want to start dabbling a bit harder in fermentation.
I kind of left that one alone for a long time because it seems like if you make a mistake, it's going to have some pretty good repercussions. Yeah. And some of these people I saw making ferments, and this could be anywhere in the world, so don't feel attacked. Yeah. I was like, that's pretty fucking sketchy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's going to be okay in the end, but yeah, obviously it's a time, a technique as old as time, you know, but I've never really played with it and I want to play with it more. And for me now, I kind of just been cooking a lot on fire and working with that. Yeah, so it's a little bit less technique-y and more kind of feel. Yeah. And I just find that a little bit more therapeutic.
Are there any trends, culinary trends that you find interesting or intriguing?
I'm that guy that, like, when people liked bands that I liked, I don't like them anymore, kind of. So I kind of am anti-trends. Yeah. So when those trends come around, it turns me off straight away. Yeah, I like what some people are doing in the world. And, like, you know, for probably the last 5 years, it's been Rasmus at Alchemist and Copenhagen. And then, yeah, I'm kind of inspired by people that do stuff as opposed to, like, a specific technique. Yeah. I feel like the whole technique-y thing got fucking killed by TikTok and Instagram, you know? Yeah. Because as soon as, yeah, it's good that you can learn it, but then just, you know, everyone's putting, that turns into Mentos and Coke kind of scenarios, you know what I mean? Where it's like people are making edible cakes. Oh, it's a cake, it's not a water, gotcha, stuff like that, you know?
There is still, like, exceptional examples in the world. I, like, watched a video the other day of someone that did this, like, extreme beetroot rolly-uppy thingy. I don't even know how to describe it. I was like, oh, yeah. How did you get the beetroot so thin?
Oh, that's Japanese lathe?
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's just a chef thing.
Yeah, I think that one's been around for a minute, but it is a good one. I actually saw a video of the same thing where somebody was putting Ponte Negra ham inside of celery root. So you make the big sheet and then roll it up and then cook it slowly. Okay.
I'll try and find the video. It was, like, super impressive. Yeah. I want to try that. Don't even know where to start. Yeah. Cultural influences. Uh-huh. How do you incorporate any cultural influences into your dishes, and how do you approach respecting or adapting traditional culinary cuisine?
That's a real good question. You know, growing up, my stepfather's Samoan, so obviously a lot of that cookery and everything is pretty much imprinted. And then being from New Zealand, you're exposed to a lot of Māori heritage. So I have done dishes in the past with some Māori techniques. But sort of that didn't end up looking anything like the original. And I cooked a lot in, like, Southeast Asian flavors, oddly. So I like to add some sneaky things from there, like sambals and laksa paste and stuff like that, to food in a way that it's not that anymore. Yeah. I don't think of food like that. I just think about what does it taste like, and, you know, generally what's the vehicle for the flavor, because we would have different sort of everything, techniques, textures, blah, blah, blah. And I hate tradition. Yeah. If I'm honest, I fucking hate it. And I like just being able to do whatever the fuck you want. It's one of the things that's so appealing about cooking, is, like, whatever I put on the plate, as long as it's good, right? Which I guess started with fusion. But yeah, so I don't really think about it like that. But if I was to attack, a specific dish, if somebody said to me, hey, make beef rendang, I would make it properly and follow all of the steps, you know, and have the intention of recreating it.
Can we talk a little bit about farm-to-table cuisine and why it's important?
It's important because that's where your food comes from. You know what I mean? It's real. It's the strangest thing is when I opened the Musket Room is when farm-to-table was like a big buzz. And people would
come back.
Yeah, everyone's going to the farmer's market and what have you. But it's a weird thing to talk about. But I guess the further we get along with commercial food production, the more it needs to be talked about. It's important because everything tastes better. You know what I mean? And everything's just treated with respect the same way you do when you're cooking to give it to people.
I get so much more joy, like, cooking with produce that I physically grown. Yeah. Like, there's, the flavour's better. I know where it's come from. I know if it's been treated or had sprays or anything like that put on it. And
just so much more joy. It's like I grew that thing and now I get to eat it.
Yeah.
It's just full circle. It's pretty cool.
I have a garden down the back of my house also, and like last year I was eating super healthy and doing this regimented 75 hard. So for my diet, I would like mostly just be eating out of the garden, and I would just be picking like turnips, radishes, carrots, and lettuces, and mostly just microplaning things and just adding a small amount of vinegar and salt or something. And just, the flavor of a vegetable that you've just removed from the earth and then you eat is incredibly different to something you've bought from somewhere that you don't know how long they've had it after they got it from the transit that you're now dealing with, It's the same thing as like if you cook a dish, you want the guest to get it as fast as you can.
I have been playing with microgreens, mainly for health reasons, but also like if we decide to live in a caravan or a boat, I just can't fathom a life without greenery.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do we grow these things? And then the first time I tried them, I think I had beet, basil, coriander, and radish microgreens, and I was just absolutely blown away with the flavour.
Yeah.
It's like one stem of a beetroot microgreen tastes like biting into an entire beetroot.
I like having the micros too because I don't like microgreens, but if I'm growing them, I can pick them when I want them, and you kind of get them in that sort of in between.
Yeah.
And they're delicious, but a little bit larger, so aesthetically beautiful also. Yeah. But yeah, I had the same experience, and I was growing tomatoes in the garden, and I noticed that all the leaves and stems had just so much tomato smell. And so I had my microgreens guy grow me micro tomatoes so I could just use the greens.
That's cool.
And he did a test of 8 kinds. But he put the fucking labels on the bottom and the water washed them off before they got to me, and only one of them tasted good.
Yeah.
And we never ran the test back. But micro green tomatoes, whatever the mystery one is, the green was incredible.
Yeah. Do you have any insights into your creative process, or where you draw inspiration from when you're creating dishes or like a flow of a menu?
Which question? What? Say that again, sorry.
Where do you draw inspiration from?
Where do I draw inspiration from? Well, I'm infamously say all the time inspiration is everywhere. That's kind of my thing. So, yeah, I really believe that. Literally any and everything. So it could be like, this to the way that looks might inspire me to do like a twirl a certain way, or, it could be literally anything. Or, you see an ingredient you forgot about, or you go to a friend's house and you have fairy bread at a party, and you're like, oh, I got to do something. Could be anything. And the way I attack menus is different for the scenario. So sometimes it's ease of execution for the space, or for the clientele. And if it's a tasting menu, then I'm thinking about it real hard. Then it's quite a journey because I'll think about the progression and what goes where.
You don't like tradition, so I won't ask you that question.
Go ahead and ask.
I was going to say, how do you balance creativity and tradition in your culinary approach?
I do use some traditional stuff as anchors, but I wouldn't follow the tradition. But, some of the things that we know, like tomato and basil taste good, you can't fuck with. Like, that's what it is, you know what I mean? Lamb and mint, but, just the way it's approached will be different.
Are there any other traditions that people should abide by?
Any other traditions?
Like cooking ones?
Rest your meat, I guess, is a really important one. And it's weird to say it all the time. I feel like everyone should just know that now.
Yeah. But they don't.
Yeah, it's so weird.
They don't. Do you think it's important for us to reconnect to nature? I mean, you lived in New York for 15 years. We're in a city. Is that important?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for longevity. And, for inspiration also. While there's a lot of inspiration inside of the city, I guess there's also a lot in nature. Just getting outside and having a think is also good, Yeah.
What brings you the most joy in your culinary journey?
I like to think I haven't done it yet.
So there's no joy?
Yeah, there's definitely joy. Like, I mean, I like providing a situation where people are happy. And that's basically what we're in the business of, isn't it? Like, if people aren't happy, we're not doing our jobs.
How do you tell if people are happy? Some people aren't very expressive.
Yeah. It was honestly easier from a kitchen where I couldn't see anyone, because it would actually also require a bit more communication. But I'm in an open kitchen now, so Sometimes I'll just look and they look happy or they don't. If they don't look happy, hey, do you want to go check?
Go over and be like,
I don't talk to anyone. That's not my place. It's not really my personality type either.
Yeah.
Because who knows how that will go, you know what I mean? I like to just, if you do a good job, you should be pretty satisfied that the end result is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Right? Because,
Is there a memorable experience or lesson that you've learned in your time in the kitchen? I mean, there will be many, but is there one that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, getting the Michelin star has been pretty huge, to be honest with you. I mean, that was probably the biggest moment so far because it's like objective achieved, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'd say it'd have been that, yeah.
Huge. And then now, how do you balance your professional life with being a husband and a father?
Yeah, I just try to make time for whatever needs the time. I'm fortunate enough where I have a position where I can afford a little bit more time at home with my kids and my wife. And then, if there's a lot going on at work, then that's what it is. If we're opening Brisbane, I'm in Brisbane. If we're in, reopening Queenstown, I'm in Queenstown. So, like, sometimes I'm away, and when I'm not, I just try to be very present.
I know that we talked about this before. It's a bit of a hard question, but you kind of said that with your restaurant in New York, that it was like relentless and kind of ruthless with your time. Mm-hmm. You do have desires to potentially go after that 2-star again, right? Or 3 stars maybe?
Well, I'm not sure.
Or have another restaurant in your life?
Yeah, look, I'd be lying if I didn't want to have another restaurant.
Would you, I guess my question was around, like, would you do things differently so that you didn't have to prioritize?
I think I'd have a lot more fun this time, honestly. Like, I feel like I put a lot of just really hardcore pressure on myself and then fucking everyone around me as a result of that. And I feel like it would just be a little bit more fun this time.
Any advice that you'd give to aspiring chefs looking to make their mark in the culinary world?
I guess my best advice would be, like, you're going to have to sacrifice some of your time to get better. It seems like a bit of a given, but it seems like it has to be said in 2024 because I think it feels like there's a lack of desire. And people don't really understand, like, look, if you just show up an hour early every day while you're working, you're probably going to get way better than you're going to get if you don't. Just like if I probably go to the gym for an hour every day, I'll probably lose weight. You know what I mean? It's the exact same mentality, but for some reason, I guess people, I don't know, it feels like people don't have that kind of intensity. But yeah, like, just put in a bit of extra effort and just really plan stuff and execute your goals. And it's not a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I do think, like, effort, if you don't make an effort, you're not going to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Like, that's just kind of how it is.
100%. Like, if it's important to you, show everyone.
Okay. Quick fire questions.
Yeah.
There's a few of them. Is there a cooking secret or a chef secret or a few of them, like resting your meat or like those sorts of, like, things that we can share with our audience? Right.
Resting your meat is a big one. For large pieces of meat, if you're like cooking a roast or whatever, pre-salting is good. Like a 24-hour salt on anything with bones is helpful. Brining can be, wet brines can also be your friend. There we go, I'll give you a hack on the brines. A lot of people just heat the water, add the salt, and put whatever spices in, and that's their brine. As we know, sugar is a bit of a cheat code for flavour. So if you make a caramel first, and then you drop all of your aromats in the caramel, herbs, spices, whatever you want, don't burn them. They'll drive the flavour through the rest of the brine way harder, so you just add the water and the salt then.
Yep.
And then you get a delicious flavour.
Perfect.
That's a good one.
Yep, that's a great one. Favourite thing to cook?
Favourite thing to cook? It's probably steak.
Yeah, me too. Or chicken, because I've finally figured it out after, like, my whole life.
Oh, yeah?
Trying to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your trick?
Well, chicken's hard because you're so scared of getting food poisoning that people tend to overcook it.
Yeah.
I like skin on, searing it both sides, then putting it in the oven for the perfect amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
And using butter and a bit of time to, like,
Butter,
baste.
thyme, and garlic is key.
Yeah.
Have you ever done the brick chicken?
No.
You get a brick,
Okay.
wrap it in tin foil, get a pan medium hot, season the skin side down, brick on top, put it in the oven, pull it out when it's finished.
I just go to the garden centre and buy a brick.
You could just get a brick from your house.
Sweet.
Hardest thing to cook, in your opinion?
Might be duck. And in New Zealand, it's especially duck because our ducks are terrible.
Duck's beautiful though when it's done well.
Yeah. That's a difficult one to do well.
Easiest thing to cook, in your opinion?
Easiest thing to cook, salads.
Yeah, that's not cooking.
Yeah, I know, but is it not? If you're a chef and you work on garbager, you know.
It is cooking.
Yeah,
Salad's good.
could be.
Key ingredients that a salad must have.
Vinegar and a fat. I mean, you know, or juice of a freshly squeezed juice.
Do you have any controversial opinions on keeping certain things, or like
Controversial opinions.
controversial opinions around like cooking or produce or anything? You know, like how's there's debate of like what's a vegetable, what's fruit, keeping certain things in the fridge, those sorts of things.
My controversial opinion might be if you have too many allergies, stay home. I remember when I first started to cook,
Yeah.
weeks, months, and years of not hearing about an allergy.
Yeah.
And now just everyone has an allergy, and some of them like, you sure about that?
Like,
you know,
I'm
like
allergic to like water.
garlic.
Yeah.
That's a weird one. Like, I guess it's the protein in the garlic, but like when garlic's in a recipe, its representation might be like 0.8.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of garlic. And are you really allergic, or do you not like garlic? So yeah, allergies. You know, no, if you have an allergy, you have an allergy, and I get it.
I actually have
And I
lots
do.
of allergies.
Oh yeah, and I respect it, but fuck, sometimes it is maddening.
But when I go to a restaurant, I'm not annoying with them.
Are you good at ordering?
Yeah.
Based on?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, like, be good at ordering.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
If there's, you know, like fried chicken and it's obviously not going to be gluten-free.
Or a
so
pie and
don't
you're
order
gluten.
it,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You're like, can you do the pie without the flour? No.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, order the salad.
Yeah. Because that's weird too, because a lot of people seem entitled to want the thing they can't have anymore.
Just be good at ordering.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been gluten-free since I was 21.
Oh, yeah.
For a really
Sure.
long time.
Yeah.
No, my mum is severe celiac. She's one of the first people in New Zealand diagnosed, but she's been misdiagnosed for like maybe 15 years.
What is a misdiagnosis of that? Like, what are they?
I think because she had thyroid
Oh, yeah.
disease as well. They misdiagnosed and thought it was tied up in her thyroid, but actually it was all in her stomach and gut. So she's one of those annoying people that actually it matters.
Yeah.
These
Okay, maybe not allergies.
These are actually the quickfire questions. I'm going to alter some of them because you don't drink. So quickfire.
I did drink a lot, so it's all I can answer drinking questions very well. Yeah.
What, in your opinion, is the most underrated fruit or vegetable?
Oh, celery's pretty underrated vegetable.
This is true.
Yeah.
I tried to make a cocktail out of it.
Oh,
Very
celery
interesting.
cocktails, like a celery gimlet. Man, there's a celery bitters you can buy that is very celery forward. It's great.
Yep.
And then fruit, apple, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. How do you like to have the celery?
How do I like to have a celery? I like the core,
Yep.
where it's like nice and tender. Yeah, not too stringy. Right. If I'm using it in anything, I'll peel it obviously and get rid of all the strands. Yeah, no, not in a salad. I'll make it the last time I used it was on a dish with like, it was a crudo dish, and it was like a celery juice, a gel made from the celery, pickled celery, and raw celery.
It actually sounds good.
Yeah, celery seeds, creme fraiche.
There you go. What was your favourite cocktail?
Negronis, but yeah.
With gin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And do you like drink mocktails now or something?
Nah.
Nah.
Yeah. I have this long-standing joke that like most restaurants' mocktail is like Coke Zero.
Or like orange juice.
If I have friends that come to the restaurant that don't drink, I send them Coke Zero in a champagne glass.
Yeah.
Because I think it's funny.
You do have a veggie garden. One word that describes your life?
Bizarre.
Outside of your Michelin star, what are you most proud of?
Probably my sons. Yeah.
Do you have any tenets that you live by?
Yeah, DBSC.
Don't be a shit?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
What is next for you?
What is next for me? We're opening a lodge bar in Melbourne at the end of the year, and I'm wicked excited about that, if I'm honest. Opening in Brisbane was a bit of an eye-opener because I've long talked shit about Australia, just, through rugby rivalry and all the rest of it.
Yeah, being a New Zealander.
Yeah, 100%. And then while living in New York, I went to Australia a couple of times. I was like, wow, it's actually pretty good. And then cooking there, I was like, fuck. They got really great ingredients. And I'm pretty excited because I know Melbourne has a totally different variety of ingredients than Brisbane, and it's quite vegetable forward. So I'm really excited about that. Also, it's a very serious food city, so got to be on my A game.
Final thing you want to say to people on the podcast?
Thanks for listening. That's pretty much it. I don't really have anything that's going to change your life in a sentence, you know what I mean? But just happy to be here and happy to be able to do things like this, especially back home.
And if you're looking for a place to go out in Melbourne, Brisbane, Auckland or Queenstown, get along to the Lodge Bar. I can tell you it's really nice and very good for drinks too. Thank you, Matt, for sharing your culinary expertise and insights and laughs with us on the Bountifull Podcast today. For our listeners eager to follow Matt's journey, we'll put all of his links and stuff in the show notes so that you can go follow him online. And if today's episode left you inspired or hungry for more, go and be sure to follow, rate and subscribe for future episodes filled with enriching conversations and hopefully a few laughs. Our season is brimming with extraordinary guests from diverse backgrounds. We can't wait to share them with you. Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you. If I offended anyone, I'm sorry.
Bye.
That's what I wanted to leave you with.